Always 10 toes like beats. Give me some built-in cleats. You don't need help like cheats. You don't need help like me.
Hi, I am Jesus, and I'm going to be reviewing Season 4, Episode 2 of Rick and Morty, The Old Man in the Seat, from the comfort of my porcelain throne. Also, I'm going to be drinking Topo Chico throughout this entire review, so if you hear burping, that's why. I gotta give this episode a C+, but in this review, I'm not gonna focus on all the stuff I hate about the episode. I'm just gonna talk about all the stuff I love about it. First thing I love about this episode is that it guest stars Dustin Ybarra. I've had a chance to work with Dustin Ybarra in the past with an indie short film we made here in El Paso. He was a great sport. He showed up in our short film called Knock 'Em Dead. I'm going to put the link down in the description if you want to check out the video. This episode, Rick talks about something we can all relate to, the serenity of using a toilet. I love that Rick is sitting on his toilet and looking at a beautiful mountainscape, because that's something I've been doing lately, looking out here at our beautiful mountains we have in El Paso. Tinder is a vague replacement for Love Finders, the app Jerry creates. It's super shallow. In all rom-coms, at the very end of it is a airport terminal love scene, but instead of that we get a Summer and Beth face-off. And I saw a lot of people complaining in the comment section that, oh, Beth really wouldn't fight Summer. But I'm like, okay, Summer's under the crazy influence of an app, and if you guys don't realize it, social media, including apps, are affecting your brain. You're basically not yourself when you're on the app. So if an alien creates an app, you're super not yourself, because they figured out a way to addict your brain to the app better than Zuckerberg can. I love that it is the lowest stakes adventure of all time. In the entire Rick and Morty history, the stakes have never been lower. So how do you make the super low stakes interesting? By putting the two worst, least capable characters together. And Morty has to work with his dad. And the conflict Morty has with his dad is paralleled with Beth and Summer in the end fight scene. And really the only love component of this whole shenanigans is Beth's love for Summer, because she's fighting her way to make sure her daughter doesn't accept what she thinks is love, just because she's going through this hormonal period in life where she'll accept any strange person she'll find on an online app. This is further reinforced in the narrative whenever Beth comes paragliding into where she thinks Summer is, but instead she crashes into a barn, and then Beth insults the farmer there for not being a good parent, and then the farmer says, "Oh, you're right, my daughter joined ISIS." I think that is one of the best jokes, along with the Mafia Fly crime boss. The Fly Mafia crime boss gets his ego burst whenever he's talking to Rick. He thinks he owns the whole thing, and yet Rick cares nothing about his life. Absolutely nothing. And this crime boss is absolutely offended, and he's gonna send all his henchmen towards Rick. But it's okay, because Rick wants to poop safely. So Rick, being on his own solo adventure, fighting mafia crime bosses, it makes a lot of parallels to the Pickle Rick episode, because Rick is doing his own solo adventure in that one. And again, there's kind of a therapy session, but instead Rick gets a therapy session from a person he most relates with in life. A guy that's working in an office cubicle that just wants to poop. I had really high hopes for this episode because it started off very much like Silicon Valley, which is one of my favorite TV shows. But then they didn't follow the structure that Silicon Valley has, where it's basically a rags to riches story, where you have absolutely nothing and then you slowly gain prominence and success and you get more than you bargained for whenever you were working on an app. I just want to say that I don't think their Beverly Hillbillies jokes landed. So at one point, Rick makes a reference to the Beverly Hillbillies, which if you're too young to know, is a story about hillbillies that strike gold by finding oil that comes out from the ground, and then they make riches off of it, which I think that's a good reference because it kind of mirrors the Silicon Valley story of from rags to riches. Story that they could have played off of, but they don't play off that at all in this app development segment of this episode, and that's why I'm like, oh, this episode kind of approaches C+ territory, kind of even lower. But I think what really saves it is a lot of the mirroring conflict between Beth and Summer and Jerry and Morty. Okay, and finally, I wanted to talk about the end credit scene. This end credit scene, if you didn't know, there's like an Easter egg to the side. You see the butter passing robot, which is my favorite robot from Rick and Morty. I know we had an all-out robot and crocodile robot war in this episode, but the butter passing robot is so perfect because Rick created him to pass butter. And he's like, oh my god, just annihilated by the meaningless of his existence. And it parallels really great with Jerry's drinking of that potion that gives him everything he has ever wanted in his life. You know, and he is a water delivery person. He brings water to people. He passes the water. He is his own delivery robot. And yet he is enthralled by it. He's engaged by this miraculous experience to provide people with water, which is super mundane, and he should be the same as the butter passing robot. But Jerry is not like us. He's a loser. And that's what's great about that end credit scene. Alright, tell me what you thought about this episode in the comments below. Alright, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out, liking and subscribing. Let me know if I should do more reviews while sitting on the toilet.
It's a good show.